Hi there, I'm the underscore Twig, and I like analysing game rules. This may come as a surprise to many of you, but I really like Pokemon. I've actually been thinking for quite a while, what if there was a way to play a Pokemon trainer in Dungeons & Dragons? Well, we found a way. I'm joined today by my friend SirAtlas.
Hi there.
And we're going to read through Pokemon 5e. This is a homebrew project by a bunch of people on the Pokemon 5e Discord and compiled by Auroratide, and it is absolutely massive. So big that this is just the first of 3 videos, all coming out this week. If you want to look at any of this yourself, I've put a link to both the Pokemon 5e website and their Discord in the description. Now then, let's start right from the beginning, before Atlas and I knew of breeding, bookkeeping, or bubble. We've not actually looked through much of this yet. I've looked at it for maybe an hour. How much have you done, Atlas?
I honestly really only did some light skimming, though I will say I've had experience with the 2018 version. For those who don't know, this project originally existed in 2018 and was actually supported all the way until like the 2020s or so. I forget the exact date, but it eventually got shut down due to DMCA. Now it's back and has a 2024 coat of paint all over it, so I'm curious on what they changed.
I think that it now goes all the way up to Gen 9 as well. I'm not sure if it includes ZA, but it definitely includes Scarlet and Violet.
From what I saw in the Pokemon tab, they have 1,130 Pokemon, which sounds like it lines up with the current amount, though it is a little over, though I think that's because they count separate forms as separate Pokemon.
Yeah, probably. There's not quite that many Pokemon. I think it's something in the 1,005-ish range, something like that. I can't remember the exact number. But I think that we should first discuss our prior experience with other Pokemon TTRPGs.
Yeah, sure. So I think that on a fundamental level, Pokemon TTRPGs have big kind of identity crisis about them. It really boils down to some of them really just want to emulate the games, some of them really want to emulate the anime, and some of them try to take both of those things and mix them together in a way that just doesn't really click.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to make a Pokemon TTRPG because different people are looking for different things. And the video games in particular are very hard to do because there is so much stuff in those games. These are games that have been going for 30 years now, and the number of Pokemon, the number of moves, the number of items, the number of ways of getting those moves and items, all of that just has compounded into an inordinate amount of content that you would have to adapt into a game system, and it's incredibly hard to do that well.
Yeah, I think one of the examples of a very complex game-leaning system is Pokemon Tabletop United. That one I actually ran all the way back when I was in high school. It was very complicated, had a lot of math for the attack rolls, and had, like, you dealt the damage, you subtracted their defense or special defense, and had all these little intricacies for damage variance and whatnot. And it even had some strange mechanics, such as trainers being able to learn and use Pokemon moves, which
bizarre.
meant that theoretically you were allowed to engage yourself in a Pokemon battle, but not if it was a sanctioned trainer battle. Then you're forced to stand back. But if you're up against some, like, Team Rocket grunts or the like, in theory, you could just run up and start punching them.
That's bizarre that players can learn moves. Something that I am a bit concerned about in this game is that it appears that Pokemon Trainer is a D&D class. I think so that you can have your Pokemon Trainer on the same party as a fighter, a monk, and a wizard.
I wonder if that's the case. I mean, given that it is a class, I think that it's interesting to see that you can hypothetically do that.
Mm.
I don't know if the game is going to be designed around that, or if that the class is mainly there just as a vehicle for the Pokemon mechanics to exist within.
It could be either. We'll find out as we're reading. The other system that I wanted to briefly touch on is one of my largest regrets in content creation. About 8 months ago, you and I had a completely unrecorded call in which we read through Pokeroll. And that was an absolute trip. Oh my good god.
It was very interesting. Pokeroll was a system that advertised itself as extremely simple and extremely anime-like, but once you got past the veneer of its basic rolling system, which more or less boiled down to coin flips.
It was a dice pooling system.
Posed as D6s. Yeah. It was a dice pool, but it was just 4 higher as successes, so it really was just 50-50s the whole way through. Then it proceeded to add a bunch of, like, moves and abilities from the games that just bloated the entire thing.
It was something like, was it a 500 or 700 or something like that page PDF? And half of it was moves. Seriously, like half of it. It was insane.
Yeah. But hey, at least they have a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon supplement. I know you enjoyed reading that one.
Oh yeah, where the entire point of it was balancing between your humanity and your wild instincts, and you could go insane. Yes. Because that's what Mystery Dungeon is about.
Yeah, that was like a core theme of Mystery Dungeon.
The other thing that I really remember from Pokeroll is that you could enter into the fray, punch the opponent's Pikachu, and do lethal damage. I'm pretty sure that it specifically referenced that you could send Pokemon to the graveyard.
I do believe they did say that, yes. There were certain moves which had the ability to go lethal for whatever reason, even though Pokemon is primarily a kid-centric...
They are really, really strict about never referring to death in Pokemon. Apart from, some stuff in early generations with ghosts. If you've ever seen any official Pokemon commentary on something like a tournament, the commentators are not allowed to say, and it killed. They have to say, and it fainted. There are, actual penalties, I believe, for saying anything about death.
Yeah, because after all, the Pokemon never die. They simply fainted, and you can bring them to your local Nurse Joy.
Yes.
Which, unfortunately, if they're dead, no such luck. I don't think they ever actually gave a system in either of those systems for reviving anything that died.
Well, we'll see if Pokemon 5th edition does that any better. Shall we get going with the reference tab, which I believe is the basic rules. And looking at this immediately, I see that it is in alphabetical order, which I am immediately going to complain about, because that is a terrible order to order your rules in.
Yes, especially when trainer class, trainer leveling, and trainer paths are all at the bottom, and are probably the most important part of getting started in a system like this.
Yeah. I mean, there is an introduction, which is right at the top, so let's try that. Incidentally, I really like this website. It's very well made.
Oh yeah, the graphic design here is very well put together. They even have a little tab up top if you want to switch between the two versions of the system.
Oh yeah, you can go 18 or 24. Cool. So, on this little introduction bit, it's saying that you should look at trainer stuff, catching Pokemon, leveling, combat, and fainting, resting, healing. So, yeah, should we start with trainers, I guess? That's where it's suggesting we start with.
Yeah, I do wish that trainer class, trainer paths, and these 6 were just the first 6 after the introduction, but I guess we could just click the hyperlink and head right down there.
Oh, it's got a little tool, actually, for creating a trainer. That's nice. We'll play
Maybe
around
we
with
can
that
test
later.
that later.
Yeah. So, it's a charisma-based class with d6 hit dice. Only has charisma saving throws. Interesting.
Okay.
You automatically get animal handling and 2 others. Okay.
Makes sense. Animal handling for
Yeah.
Pokemon handling. Pokeballs as a tool proficiency, I find interesting. You'd think that would just be something you could activate using the utilize action without any proficiency requirement.
I wonder if that means that you add your proficiency bonus to the catch chance or something like that.
One thing that I find interesting is that they do have multi-classing rules right off the rip.
Oh god, yeah, they do. So yes, you can be a Pokemon trainer barbarian. That's very interesting, I guess, because it means that you now have to consider whether fighting with your Pokemon is more effective than hitting them with a halberd.
Yeah, one other thing I want to point out is it's arguably more optimal to dip and then go trainer afterwards, because that gives you 2 saving throw proficiencies.
Yeah, and saving throw charisma is like the second worst one anyway.
I just did some light clicking between 2018 and 2024, and one thing I noticed that multi-classing section did not exist
Oh, you're right.
in the previous version.
I wonder
So
why
this
that's
is
been
entirely new.
added. Wonder why that's been added.
Maybe it originally started as the thing I was saying, where they expected everyone to just be trainers, but in this new version, they're kind of allowing players to mix and match trainers into traditional D&D parties.
So another thing that I'm going to say here that this is kind of a criticism is that because the trainer is always charisma based, it means that your entire party, assuming you're all Pokemon trainers, everyone is going to be a charisma based character. I feel like it should be a mixture between charisma, wisdom, intelligence, and then like with that you can have some people invest into dex, some people invest into strength. Having everyone be charisma, I guess, is because animal handling is found under the influence action, but I don't think that is a great idea. I think that it should be that you can choose your mental ability stat.
Yeah, and I would even go so far as to say just add a feature at level 1 that lets you have animal handling be whichever your primary stat is.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense to me, yeah. Let's have a look at your actual features, I guess.
Yeah, looks like even though the features table starts with starter Pokemon, the first feature is actually trainer license.
I think that this is entirely a ribbon. It's like the Mercy Monk's mask. That it doesn't seem to do anything. It just says, oh, you have a license.
Yeah, it does let you get Pokemon Center access and Pokemart access. So if your fighter wants to heal at a Pokemon Center, they can't.
True.
I guess.
Can fighters heal at a Pokemon Center? That is a question. This goes into the age-old question of, are people Pokemon?
I don't know, and I'm not game theory, so I'm not going to answer that.
Something that I do quite like here is that you can lose your license for attacking other trainers or their Pokemon. I assume that is except in licensed battles, because otherwise, kind of what's the point?
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna skip over starter Pokemon for
we'll come back to the actual Pokemon themselves in a bit.
I want to look at the Pokédex, because even though it's a piece of equipment, it's listed here in the class features. It is a bonus action to use and can identify any Pokemon within 60 feet of you. You get the registration, and you also get the base SR, which is species rating.
Is that like Seer?
And seems like it. and some brief facts about the species, which I guess the DM has to either make up or read off of the Pokemon Wiki. A cute ribbon. But
Yeah, it's not really doing anything.
yeah, like I was hoping that something like the Pokédex would maybe like give you more information about the Pokemon, like maybe whether your attack would be super effective, if super effective is even in the system. I assume it is, but that's just a guess.
I assume that they've just co-opted like the resistance and vulnerability system. Ooh, are double resistances and double weaknesses going to be in here?
Yeah, that's a good question, because in Pokemon that is a thing, but in D&D, resistances don't stack the way that they do.
Correct. Like, if I was to use a fire move on a Ferrothorn, then that would do 4 times damage in Pokemon, but I'm not sure if it will here.
I guess we'll find out soon.
Yes.
Let's see. Going back to starter Pokemon, the ability, I actually want to find some things here. So, the first thing is species rating. Looks like it is just the CR.
Yeah. Half or lower, I assume, is the same as CR, half or lower.
With the base stats in its stat block. The thing that interests me, though, is the second sentence. This Pokemon starts with a nature and non-hidden ability of the player's choice. So not only are we getting natures, which I think is extremely excessive.
That does not need to be there.
Abilities. Yeah.
Abilities, I can get. There are a lot of abilities, and you would need to do rules for all of them. I think there's like 600 or something. It's an insane amount.
Yeah. But the thing I want to lean in on here is the keyword non-hidden. So there's going to be mechanics to allow you to have hidden abilities.
Okay, this is where we get into the game replication. There are a lot of things in Pokemon games that you do not need to have in a tabletop game. Hidden abilities being a good example. For anyone who isn't familiar with Pokemon, all Pokemon get an ability, which is like a passive effect that they always have active. But some Pokemon also have a hidden ability, which is something that they can only get under certain circumstances. The fact that hidden abilities are in here means that they've gone full in on making this as close to the games as they can, which I think is probably going to end up as excessive.
I agree. From my light skimming of this, I have seen some other things that make me think that they went a little too gamey with this, but I will save those for later as we read on.
Okay, sure. Something that I have just looked up in my other tab was species rating 1/2. Unfortunately, I can't choose Baneri as my starter Pokemon. It's a species rating 2.
Wow, I didn't realize that Baneri was so powerful.
Yeah, why is Baneri species rating 2?
I'm curious on what made them decide on this list of species ratings for some of these Pokemon.
Let's actually show everyone else what we've got here. So, here we have the list of Pokemon, and it says their SR down in this column. So, like, you've got Bulbasaur is a species rating 1/2. Obviously, Bulbasaur is an actual starter Pokemon, they need to make that a 1/2. But you can also start with, I don't know, you could start with a Geodude. Cool. Scroll down a bit further, you could start with a Rowlet.
Aron, I think, is a very, very interesting choice for a starter Pokemon.
Ha!
Yeah.
What on earth is Aron doing there? Guess Tremor Sense. Ew. We're not talking about Pokemon yet. We're not talking about Pokemon yet. We're still on the basic rules.
No. But it's just interesting because Aggron, from what I recall, is a pseudo-legendary. No?
It's not a pseudo-legendary. It's like it's just one of these ones that's like kind of powerful lore-wise, kind of like how Haxorus isn't a pseudo-legendary.
Oh wow. I don't know. I've been in and out of the Pokemon competitive scene, so I don't really. I'm not as adept with it as I guess you are.
I wonder if there are actually any pseudo-legendaries that you can start with. Oh yeah, you can start with a Dreepy. That evolves into Dragapult. That's a pseudo-legendary.
Oh!
So you can start
Dreepy's.
with... You can start with the baby forms of pseudo-legendaries. That's... Ooh, don't know about that.
That sounds like a balance problem, but,
Yeah.
you know, clearly Baniri is stronger, so, you know.
True. For anyone wondering, Baniri. Yeah. SR2. I've just seen something.
And what would that be?
Baniri is in the field and human-like egg groups.
Ah, so we've introduced egg groups.
Why? Why are egg groups here? For anyone unfamiliar with Pokemon, Pokemon can breed. If you have a male Pokemon and a female Pokemon, or a Ditto, and they are in the same egg group, they can breed and make an egg that hatches into a new Pokemon.
Actually, we don't really know where the egg comes from.
Oh yeah, true, we don't actually know, they just find it, don't they?
Though, if you actually go to the reference section here, they do have rules for breeding.
Oh god, we are going to have to read this. But now that we're back at the reference section, let's go back to trainers.
Yes. So they have two other main features here at level 1, which are Poke Slots and control upgrades. So Poke Slots are just how many Pokemon you can have with you at any given time. All your other Pokemon, I presume, get boxed.
Oh, I actually really like this. I super like that. That is really good. At level 1, you can have your starter and 2 others. Fantastic. Not starting people off with a team of 6. 6 is too many. 6 is too many for a TTRPG. So the fact that you can start off with less than that, brilliant. Well done, guys. Control upgrade. So this one basically says that you can't use a Pokemon with a higher SR, that's its CR, than your trainer ability. So you've got a max SR column here, which says that at first level you can control up to SR2. That makes sense to me.
So you can catch a Baniri.
Yeah, I can catch a Baniri. The interesting thing here is that when your Pokemon evolves, it looked like its SR also changed. So if I had my Baniri and I evolved it into a Lopunny, does that mean that I can no longer control it?
Without the proper level, Pokemon with a higher SR will refuse to leave their Pokeball or obey the trainer's orders. So, yeah, you can have the Ash's Charizard problem.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't think I like that. I think that should be...
I'm not a big fan.
I think that should be you can't control a Pokemon that you caught at an SR of whatever your rating is or higher.
Yeah, or I would at least allow, like, maybe a contested animal handling check whenever you gave it an order.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, I get that they want to balance around not having too strong of a species at any given time, because I'm sure that evolving also comes with big ability score upgrades.
I assume so.
However, I don't like this way of implementing it. I would probably house rule it, kind of like what you said, allowing, if it evolves naturally, you just get to keep it. Because we're in a D&D game, we're not letting players grind Geodudes for 10 hours in the nearest cave to get their evolutions maxed out.
On that subject, I wonder how Pokemon level up, because...
Do they level up?
Grinding is kind of a part of Pokemon. I mean, it's not a required part of Pokemon, but if you catch a low-level thing that you want to use, you have to grind it up until it's of the appropriate level to use.
Let's see, what else is there? In addition, there's another feature at level 10, so we're skipping a lot of levels. I guess that you mainly get control upgrades and Poké slots.
Looking at the thing, you get a trainer path at level 2, which I think is your subclass. So they've got second level subclasses. That is not a 24 thing. That should probably be third level.
Yeah. That should be moved.
Air
That's
size,
not right.
more trainer paths, poker slots, specialization. Is that a second subclass? Do they have 2 subclasses?
It doesn't. I mean, from what it looks like, if I had to guess, it's probably going to be more akin to like Cleric's Divine Order.
Quite possibly,
than, like,
yeah.
a second
Quite possibly.
Subclass, but just something to keep in mind there.
So yeah, most of the upgrades here seem to be control upgrades, poker slots, trainer paths, and air size.
Yeah.
There's not many other features, but we can look through the rest of them.
I guess that makes sense. After all, you are your class features are your Pokemon.
Yeah, true.
Is I guess the best way to put it.
True.
Speaking of, Trainer's Resolve. When you reach 10th level, you become immune to the Frightened condition and get a second saving throw proficiency.
Cool.
That's why am I not getting my base second saving throw proficiency at level 1?
Yeah.
Especially when you allow me to multi-class.
This also suggests that there's going to be combat involving trainers.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like, wild Pokemon wouldn't really know what to target, for example. Even in the Pokemon Legends series, they
True.
can attack trainers. And trainers better be careful, because you don't have any armor proficiency, and you have a D6 hit dice.
Yeah, very low HP. Pokemon Tracker, level 13 ability. Once per long rest, you may search for a Pokemon in the nearby area. You learn a list of wild Pokemon that can be found there, and you get expertise in animal handling.
Way too late.
Yeah, that should be like a first level ability, surely. Maybe not the expertise, but
honestly, I would maybe put it around the same level as I would put it around level 7, because that's the level that Rogue, for example, gets their big out of combat boost.
Yeah. I mean, I think that being able to learn what Pokemon are around should be a very basic ability.
Yeah, that part's fair. I was more just looking at the expertise part of it. With the list, I feel like this should almost be baked into your Pokédex.
Yes, that would be a very good idea, actually. Have this be a feature in the Pokédex ability, which you get at level 1.
Then you get an epic boon, and they recommend the Boon of Fate.
Sure, I guess.
It does say be creative role-playing boons that seem magical for a Pokemon universe. Okay, interesting. And then at level 20, you become a Pokemon Master. When you or your Pokemon fail a saving throw, you may choose to succeed instead, twice per long rest.
So you get 2 legendary resistances to spread across your entire party.
I'm not sure I love that, but I don't think it's... I wish it was short rest.
Yeah. I wonder what saving throws are going to be here. I imagine that there's going to be moves that do saving throws, but off the top of my head, what? Maybe like Earthquake will be a saving throw? Rather than
I imagine anything
roll?
that's AoE, or maybe potentially debuffs as well.
Yeah,
so, like,
possibly.
String Shot wouldn't guaranteed hit you.
Okay, so it looks like specializations are just a very small boost to a skill check and a type of Pokemon, and then trainer paths are your actual subclasses. Yeah.
I guess the next thing on the list from the introduction is trainer paths. Oh, that is a lot of subclasses.
Oh, wow, okay. That is... I think... Is that more subclasses than the Cleric has, including 2014?
It might be. I might go check that out while we're chatting.
That is, like, kind of insane. Huh. I am going to suggest that we don't read all of these, because we are going to be here all day.
What? You don't want to learn more about the Ranger? Everyone's favorite Pokemon
Oh god, is this
subclass?
actually going to be, like, the Pokemon Ranger from the Pokemon Ranger games, or is it going to be the...
If I had to guess...
Yes, you have a catcher styler. God damn it, guys.
Oh, come on.
I love Pokemon Ranger, but Pokemon Ranger should not be in the same system as an actual video game battle recreation. It's...
Yeah, if anything, Pokemon Ranger should probably be a separate class entirely, and not a subclass.
Yes! At level 5, if you have run all the way around a Pokemon drawing a closed shape by the path you travelled, you get a plus 10 to capturing that Pokemon. That is the most
Well, I know I'm definitely multi-classing my Monk Pokemon Ranger. There's nothing you can do to stop me.
For anyone unfamiliar with Pokemon Ranger, it is a game in which you catch Pokemon by drawing circles around them. This is trying to do that, but it's in the stupidest way I have ever seen.
I mean, it's funny. I will give it that.
It is very funny. God. No, let's not look at the Pokemon Ranger any further. Okay.
Sure. I guess let's look at the Ace Trainer if we had to look at one, just because I think that's like your champion fighter.
I assume it is. I assume that the basic ones are probably going to be Ace Trainer, Pokemon Collector. Okay, Ace Trainer. All your Pokemon get a +1 bonus to their attack and damage rolls.
That seems a little strong right off the rip.
It's second level. That's basically a fighting style. It's just a fighting style.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I just, I equate that to basically giving all of your Pokemon a +1 sword.
Yeah.
Just by existing and picking the subclass.
I wonder how that balances with all of the others. We're not going to read all of the others though, so we'll never find out.
Yeah.
Battle Master. Oh god, you get maneuvers. Wait, what? You may assign one of these to any of your Pokemon to be added to a single attack or damage roll. Yeah, so you just get 1+ Dex mod D6s that you can add to anything, basically.
So basically you get Dex mod Bardics.
Yes. Yeah, that's a better way of saying it. I mean, it's very vanilla, I guess. It is just making you a better battler. In a completely nondescript way.
Let's see. Next, you get Tactical Mastery. Oh, so you pick an ability score, and every single one of your Pokemon gets a temporary +1 to that score.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
No, I don't like that either. +1 in an ability score is... So that is a really boring feature, but also, like, it either does a lot or absolutely nothing.
Yeah. The main problem with it, like you just said, is half the time it's useless, and half the time it is actually just a +1.
Yeah.
I almost wish that they said it was a +2, but even that, I think... But then we get into the balance quandary of this, is giving them effectively a +1 to a specific stat too strong. I wish this was something more interesting, maybe like advantage.
Yeah, maybe like PB per day, or not PB, maybe like charisma per day. You can give advantage on an attack or something. I don't know. That,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Battlemaster is
kind of
dexterity.
that. Yeah. And yeah, it's also
but
dex, not chat. Why is that dex?
Yeah, even though charisma is supposed to be your key ability score.
Why is that dex? What are you doing with your dexterity to make your Pokemon attack better?
I don't know.
Are you, like, cheerleading them? I mean, Zen moves are kind of dances.
I guess you're just kind of aura farming.
Huh.
That's the only thing I can think of.
At level 50, you get Rapid Switching, which says that you can still use a move even if you switch, I think.
Yeah, you can either take an action or move, not both. You don't get a bonus action or reaction.
Yes, sorry. I'm conflating move and move. There is now a goddamn second word for move as well. Damn it, guys.
Yeah.
Stop making speed worse.
But yeah, I mean, that feature I think is actually really good if switching...
That is kind of a cool ability, actually, I think. I assume that switching is going to be a thing that stops you from taking an action, because that's what it does in the Pokemon games. You can either switch, or you can make an attack. If you can switch and make an attack, that is a lot better. That is a really good capstone, I think.
Yeah, it basically makes every move like a U-turn, more or less.
Yeah. So the Ace Trainer subclass feels kind of boring, I think, until Rapid Switching, which is kind of cool. Do we want to look at one other to see if it's more interesting?
Sure. I picked Ace Trainer, so why don't you pick the next one?
Sure. I think that Pokemon Collect is probably the second most basic, so let's look at one that's probably going to be more wild. Let's have a look at Grunt.
I was eyeing Grunt.
For anyone unfamiliar with Pokemon, the evil teams in the games, in basically all of the games, have Grunts, which are like their minions, who just go around and bug you, basically. So this is kind of you're a member of the evil team subclass.
Yeah. And right at the rip, you get shadow points equal to your level. You get them back on a long rest, and you get a sabotage ability. As a reaction, you can spend any number of points to decrease the total of an attack roll. Oh, so this is just cutting words.
Yes.
Except it's by 1 per shadow point. Wait,
that
what?
Seems like it could be incredibly strong.
Yeah, except then they add that last sentence, which is confusing, but I understand it.
The natural attack roll is unaffected by this ability for purposes of move effects. What on earth is a move effect? And attacks with a natural roll of 20 may not be decreased at all. So crits. Crit.
Yeah, I get what they're trying to say, that technically the dice roll you rolled didn't change, just the final result. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this doesn't need to be said at all, really. Because a nat 20 already auto-hits.
Yes.
Regardless of the result.
Anyway, moving on, Dark Advantage. At level 5 you get Dark Advantage. Thanks for telling me that. Allowing you to spend 3 shadow points. At this level you have 5 shadow points to roll advantage on any skill check, attack roll, or saving throw. Okay,
so this makes me think that whoever designed this did not read the 2024 handbook, because we have a term for this now. It's a D20 test.
Yes. Or they just copy-pasted it from the 18 version, which has the same text, although it was called "and make it double."
That's probably why the feature was renamed, or probably why it said the Dark Advantage in the core text there. Yeah,
I think that is exactly what happened. Because the 2018 version says, you get the feature and make it double, which gives you the Dark Advantage ability. Why? Surely it gives you the and make it double ability. This probably isn't very good. This is very expensive. If we think of your shadow points as like focus points for a monk, except you only get them back every long rest. This is... It's a lot.
Yeah, this almost makes me feel like they're less akin to focus points and more akin to sorcery point features.
Yeah, I guess. This also probably means actually that sabotage isn't great either because you have so few points.
Yeah, like at level 2, you can either do 2 -1s or 1 -2.
Yeah. That's not a lot.
No, and Dark Advantage, if you use it once, right at level 5, you can't use it again.
Advantage once per day, costing effectively... this is effectively equivalent to 1 use of Defensive Duelist. That's not worth.
No, it's not worth at all. Like, either shadow points should be made short rest, or something needs to be redone here, because this subclass just... Especially even compared to the +1 to attack and damage of the Ace Trainer, just does not stack up.
No. This is way weaker.
Yeah, like, I'd rather have Dex mod per day +1 for some reason, D6s.
Yeah. So, at level 9, we then get Sinister Dodge, which again tells us that we get the Sinister Dodge ability, which says 4 shadow points, so that's just under half of them, to add 1 level of resistance to a move that damages one of your Pokemon. Vulnerable to neutral, neutral to resistant, resistant to immune.
That is actually really good.
That's a very good ability.
The ability to just give yourself flat-out immunity if you resist an attack.
Yeah.
Sounds really nice.
That sounds like the best thing so far. I mean, you can still only do it twice per day. But still, saying I get immunity to the Dragon's Breath weapon, or whatever the equivalent here is gonna be great. I don't know, maybe Kyogre's Water Spout.
The only problem is using this twice now means that the best thing you can do for the rest of the day is a single sabotage.
Yes. A single -1 to an attack roll.
Yeah. I get that they have them all off of one stat, and that was maybe interesting when they were designing this, but I feel like these need to all be separate features with separate cooldowns.
It's a 2014 Monk problem, where everything required key. Now everything requires shadow points, and it means that all of your features are so limited. Like, if sabotage was the shadow points, that would be fine, but then Dark Advantage is chat times per day, Sinister Dodge is, I don't know, twice. Or once per short rest. Once per short rest. Let's say that.
Perfect.
That would all be fine. It's because everything requires these shadow points, then you don't have enough of them.
Speaking of shadow points, then we get the Nefarious Stagger ability, which gives us access to the Nefarious Stagger ability.
Of course.
That gives us the ability to spend 2 of our shadow points to turn a flinch into a stun. Ooh, so we're mixing Pokemon conditions and D&D conditions.
So, for those of you who aren't familiar with Pokemon, flinch basically is you skip a turn. And then stunned is the D&D stunned condition, which is not in Pokemon. What?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to see what the flinch condition is in this game.
I mean, also here, let's say that your Pokemon don't have any moves that flinch.
Then this feature is useless.
Yes.
All I know is that Wolfie better be quivering in his boots when the Incineroar stuns instead of flinches.
God, Incineroar fake out, stun.
Oh, God. I mean, if you have a Pokemon for this feature, if flinching is lesser stun, I mean, it depends on what flinching does. It does. The power of this ability depends on flinch.
Something else I'm also noticing is that it doesn't give a duration for that stun condition. And if flinching is just you skip a turn, stunned is still you skip a turn?
You know what? Actually, speaking of, I'm going to pull up the move Fake Out because I know that move.
Let us have a look at the move Fake Out.
This attack can only be used on the first turn that the user has entered combat. Make a melee attack on a creature doing 1d6 damage plus move, normal damage on a hit, causing the target to flinch.
Okay, so it doesn't describe what flinching is. Also,
does not describe it at all.
What is plus move? Is that like plus your strength or dex? Because that's the move power. I assume that's what it is.
Yeah, I assume it just means that you can choose your ability score for when you use the move, which that I actually like.
Yeah, that's cool.
I will say.
God, there's contests.
Rather than having a attack and special attack. Oh no.
There's contest stats. Why are
the
contests
Pokemon
here?
that acted immediately?
Why does it have appeal and jam?
Because every Pokemon mechanic must be represented here.
Do you remember the Pokeroll contest rules?
For context, the Pokeroll contest rules were basically, we're not playing the Pokeroll system anymore. You're now pulling out this board and playing a board game that we made.
Except it didn't give you any of the rules for the cards that were in the board game. It just says, you draw a card and can use it. What's a card?
Yeah. Where are the cards? We couldn't find the cards. One thing that I do like, again, to complement the UI of this website, they do give a list of every Pokemon that can learn this move.
Yeah, that's very, very nice. You're right. Looking through this list, though, I am saying that, like, there's a lot of Pokemon here that can learn it as egg moves. There's a lot of egg move learners here.
Ooh. Do we think egg moves are in this system, then?
Looking at this, the answer is going to be yes.
I'm gonna look at Squirtle. And I see egg moves, yes. Egg moves are in this game.
Oh god.
Yeah, for those who are unacquainted, as we've mentioned already, breeding is a mechanic in this game, and some moves in the video game can only be learned by a Pokemon through breeding with a Pokemon that has already learned that move. And thus, those moves are referred to as egg moves. This is an extremely unnecessary mechanic to be in a game like this. I almost wish that they just let us use a TM of any move and just let you auto-learn. I don't know why this is here.
Yeah. No, the egg moves should not be here. It's not even a they don't need to be here, it's a they shouldn't be here. This is way, way too complex for a TTRPG.
Yeah. Also looking at Squirtle's moveset, I see that they have a limited list of TMs, presumably one-to-one with the TMs that exist in the games.
Let me bring up Bulbasaur in a separate tab and have a look. Sorry, no, Squirtle, not Bulbasaur. Squirtle. So, the moves learned by TM in Scarlet and Violet are... Okay, nope, it is not the same, because TM1 is Takedown in Scarlet and Violet, not Work Up. So, which game
Gen
are these
1?
from? Which games are these from? What?
Did they make their own TM list out of every move that has been a TM move?
It's Gen 7. It's Gen 7.
That makes sense, because that's around the gen that this project got cancelled.
Yeah, so Work Up is 01, Toxic is 06, Hail is 07, Hidden Power is 10. Yeah, so this is Squirtle's Gen 7 TM list, except they've added a bunch.
Yeah, because Terra Blast is here, which is a move exclusive to Scarlet and Violet because terrestrialization was not in those other generations.
Yes, and I'm also saying here that Water Pledge is there, and Water Pledge is not a TM. That is a tutor.
Yeah. I guess they got rid of tutors, which, you know what? I'll applaud them for getting rid of tutors.
Yeah, good job on that one. We don't need tutors.
Yeah, now let's get rid of egg moves and TMs. Let's have universal TMs. I don't see a need for us to have this level of complexity.
Yeah. Whilst we're looking at all of these moves, something I do just want to say is there's so many. There are so many. Oh my god, we do not need to have a party of 6 Pokemon, each of which has a wizard spell list.
I also see on the bottom they have a biomes mechanic, which
so that I actually think is quite a good idea. Saying and this is where you can find them. That's cool. That's cool. It saves a lot of effort on the DM's part. Yeah, good job, guys. Mm-hmm. What the hell is flinch? I still need to know this.
Oh yes, flinch. Would that be in combat, maybe?
Status conditions. I found it. Status conditions.
Is that in the reference document?
Yes, it is in the references. It's underneath specializations.
I found it. Flinch.
So, flinch.
Oh.
Disadvantage on all attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws until the end of its next turn. Okay, so upgrading from flinch to stun is basically... that is an upgrade. I'm assuming
that brings it back to an actual flinch in the Pokemon game.
Yeah, that makes it an actual skip a turn.
And I'm glad that flinch got nerfed, because having flinch in its normal state would be very unfun.
Yes.
One thing that I will say is I'm curious from a fundamental level, Pokemon games are really like single-player experiences. Obviously, there's like competitive and whatnot. But most of your battles are either done one-on-one or in doubles.
Yeah.
But D&D, on the other hand, is more like a party of 4.
This is a good point. Let's say that you're in a anime-style party where in the anime you typically have 3 trainers moving around together. You've got your Brock, Misty, and Ash, or whatever.
Yeah.
That means that you're having to keep track of 3 characters worth of Pokemon, and if you're doing a standard Pokemon style story where you're having to go through gym battles, for example, those are normally one-on-one. Does that mean that you have to do the same battle 3 times for each player?
I think that depends on the GM. You could set it up where maybe the gym leader is allowed to have like a party's worth of Pokemon out or something along those lines. Or maybe there's multiple gym leaders. I mean, it really just depends on how you want to handle it as a game master. When I ran these things, I was always under the assumption that multi-battles were the norm in my personal homebrew region.
It makes more sense for there to be multi-battles. But it is also not how the game works, and this appears to be going for how the game works.
We'll have to see if there's more information on this.
Yes. So, we have looked through all of the trainer stuff. I want to look through... Do we want to look through catching or combat first? Probably combat?
If we're going by the order of the introduction, they do recommend doing catching first.
Okay, let's look at catching first then. So, to attempt to catch a Pokemon, use the Throw Pokeball action. I assume that Pokeballs are probably items. I think we got 5 of them with our starting equipment. Something that I don't like, a fainted Pokemon cannot be caught. So, when you drop a Pokemon to 0 HP, it doesn't die, as we have said, it faints. And in all of the games except for ZA, you cannot catch a Pokemon that has fainted. This is something that I don't like seeing here replicated, because in basically every single other piece of Pokemon media, except for the games, you can catch a fainted Pokemon. The you can't catch a fainted Pokemon thing is literally just a game balance, because it's a JRPG.
Yeah, in the anime, we see Ash brutalize the other Pokemon, and then once they faint, he throws the Pokeball, and then you watch it jiggle for a bit.
Yes, exactly. Pokeballs are not the only way to catch Pokemon. There may be Pokemon in the wild that are friendly and happy to join you in your adventures. That's a nice addition, because in the anime, there are multiple cases where Ash is just, like, nice to a Pokemon and decides that he wants to follow him. Cool.
Yeah.
Right, we have the throw Pokeball action here. You have to make a skill check to hit. If you succeed the DC, the wild Pokemon is captured. The DC is 10 plus SR rounded down. I guess that's because you can have half SR or something. Plus Pokemon level. That's going to scale quickly.
All the way up to, like, 40s.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, technically, if you want to get pedantic, in base 5e, the absolute cap of a DC you can have in the game is 30.
Yes, I mean, it does say below that if the Pokemon is below half its DC minus 5, if it's below 10%, it's DC minus 10. And different Pokeballs can reduce the DC further. So actually that may scale alright, depending on how the Pokeball works. And oh my god, there's a lot of Pokeballs. Wow.
Yes, there are. Also, I don't like this, like, percentage threshold stuff here with the in the red.
Yeah, this is something that is also a gameism. In Pokemon games, the lower the Pokemon's HP, the easier it is to catch them. Something that I've mentioned quite a few times in various videos is keep percentages out of D&D. D&D is a game that should be easily understood by a 7-year-old for basic mechanics, and I think that catching a Pokemon is a basic mechanic. It's a core mechanic.
I agree.
7-year-olds don't inherently know how percentages work. They shouldn't be here.
Yeah, like, I would maybe even say, make this below 10%, make it 10 or less. Or make it, like, single-digit health. Something like that.
Sure.
I know that nerfs it further, but I feel like that's easier for people to understand.
Another thing here that could be updated, and I guess is just carried forward from 2018, is that below half health is now called bloodied.
That is correct.
So,
though, I will point out that is not carried over from the 2018 version. The formula is different in the 2018 version.
The formula has a fraction. Oh dear.
It is remaining HP divided by 10 rounded down.
Oh, good god. That is a nightmare of a formula. I mean, obviously we can do that, but if a kid was trying to play this game, oh my good god. No.
No. Definitely no. So yeah.
We've got infinite Pokeballs here. Looking through the Pokeballs, there's basic ones that just reduce the DC. Then there's a whole bunch that say that the DC reduces under certain conditions. This is just every single Pokeball that's ever been in the goddamn game, isn't it?
Probably. Reduced. One I want to point out immediately is the Quick Ball, which looks extremely overpowered.
Reduced capture DC by 15 if used during the first round of combat. Yeah, that's effectively using a Great Ball in the red.
Yeah, if the combination of SR and level is 5 or less, that's just an auto capture.
It is. You're right. Or actually, if it's 6 or less, because you add your 1 from the ability check.
Oh yeah, and then even higher when you add your animal handling modifier.
Yeah, true.
Like if you have a level 5 character with, let's just say +5 total for your animal handling,
you've got a mid-roll of 21. So
yeah,
you could catch something up to SR6 level 5, for example. That seems kind of insane.
I guess the SR and level combinations will get very high very quickly, so maybe it balances out, but haven't really looked at the Pokemon too well, so we'll have to see.
Unfortunately, that's where I'm cutting off part 1. If you're watching this on release, part 2 will be out on Wednesday the 1st, and oh my good god, do we stumble across something crazy. Imagine if you had your fighter's second extra attack at level 1. If you don't want to wait, all 3 parts are up right now on my Patreon, where these contestants are cooking up a storm in the Poffin kitchen. The race to cook the most delicious snacks is currently a 9-way tie between SK, Mark Rainbow, Boney, Jalili, Precipice, Not Curtis, Walt, Dreamscribe, and Magi. Bye!